Hey there. I'm going to just give a moment here for Facebook Live to connect. I'm wired in this morning, so we shouldn't have any problems. But as I'm getting set up here, type in the comments below. Let me know where you're listening in from and any questions that you might have, topics that you might want to go over this morning. I am going to go over how to measure your health success. So I know you might be healing from an injury, or maybe you have a goal for your yoga practice that relates to your health. So, for example, maybe it's to get more shoulder flexibility to take pressure off your neck. So then you can stop overusing your neck muscles, have stronger shoulders, and turn your head easier. Maybe it's something like that. Um, and how do we use the yoga practice to help our health goals. But when we have a goal, whether it be specific for yoga, and I'm going to go over some alignment tips in just a bit, or more general for our health, like fine-tuning diet to decrease inflammation, that sort of thing, it's not often talked about how we measure our results, right? We usually set a big goal to heal our low back completely, or completely get rid of gluten, or all these various things. So this morning, as we wait for people to get on and get situated, what is your goal? And you can type that in the chat if you would like. You can just think about it. What is your health goal for this week, for this month, the quarter, the year, right? As entrepreneurs, we're trained to set, or hopefully, if you haven't done this already, this might be a nice mind-blowing bonus for you for your business, to have metrics and markers that our business is on success. So there's different terms for this. KPIs is one. How do we know that our business is going to meet its projected goals, right? And sometimes we meet them and we stay on track, but they're way to know using numbers, using objective measurements, that we're at least on the right path. And if we aren't, for what I've learned being a business owner is that it's all a trial and error, right? We need to try something and then we measure, does it work? Does it not work? If it works, we do more of that. If it doesn't work, then we have to rein things in and try something new and then rinse and repeat. So often we can do this with business, maybe with a little bit of mind drama, but usually we have maybe employees or staff or mentors or coaches that can keep us on track. And so we stay out of our own drama. With health, I see a lot of things go wrong. For example, there was a time for the business owner, for the entrepreneur, where hustle was the name of the game, right? Just even a couple of years ago, I've seen stories of moms who own their own business, entrepreneurs, and they're telling on social media how they haven't showered for like 2 or 3 days. Now, what message is this telling our body, right? That we can't even take a 20-minute or a 10-minute break to get ourselves clean and take care of ourselves because we're so wrapped up in our business, right? Can you relate? I know it's like the work that I personally do is carving out the boundaries to take care of myself, take care of my daughter, and keep my business going. That is the work. But in terms of health, how can you measure that you're on the right track? So even with yoga, back to the hustle mindset, even with yoga, so here in America, we are so asana focused, right? Yoga is the practice of the yoga postures here in America. You go to a class, and a lot of the times they're 60 minutes, you get right to the mat and you get moving. There's nothing wrong with that, right? In fact, it's opened the gateway of yoga. So many more, it's much more accessible and people can relate to it. They feel benefits and change in their body in the moment and down the road. So that's all a good thing, focusing on these yoga postures. But what's not often known is how yoga goes so much deeper, how there's so much more to yoga than just the postures. So, for example, in the 8 limbs of yoga, cleansiness is one of the 8 limbs. And it's not just, cleansiness of the body, it's keeping uh, keeping your house feng shuied, or whatever you want to call organized. It's the organization of your schedule, right? The management of the schedule. There's many ways that beyond just your body that you can bring this one limb into your life. And that's just one example. So today, how can we measure our health? What are some markers to know that we're on the right path? So, in the podcast, which I'll post a link to in a moment, I go over many ways to keep yourself on track. I mentioned staying the course with healing. Sometimes healing takes a lot longer than what we expect, right? So the reason why I posted that video of me doing Pincha Mayurasana, the forearm stand in here, is not so much to brag, but to show you the potential of, I was in rock bottom in terms of my body, my health. I was in the hospital. I couldn't walk. I had difficulty breathing, swallowing. They wouldn't let me out of bed for almost 48 hours because every time I would go to stand with a walker, with 2 nurses on a telly, my heart rate would shoot through the roof and it would call in the whole heart team. So I went from that in May to now being able to do Pincha in July. That's my health journey, right? And the reason why I was able to get back to Pincha so quickly in about 2.5 months was only because prior to getting this unexpected hospitalization, I had built up a cushion of health reserve, of health resiliency. So if this is my line of wellness, right? For the most part, I was living way down here, hopefully, right? And so my hospitalization took me way up here to not being well. However, when I was discharged, when I was on the path of healing again, I was able to pull from all my reserves, all my knowledge, all the work that I had been doing prior to hospitalization to get me back to where I am today. So I've heard this so many times, like, oh my gosh, you're having like a miraculous healing response, or it's a miracle how you're able to walk and move and practice yoga now compared to how you were in May. Yes, this is true. I'm really, really lucky. However, part of it is the work that I've been doing leading up to it. And it's also the practice of yoga when I was discharged from the hospital. So I had fourth, what's the word? Prioritized my self-care upon discharge from the hospital. I really had to take a look at my family time. I really had to take a look at my business schedule and say, what does my body, what does my health need right now? And how can I bring that into my day to day? So that's one thing I did. The other thing I did was I practiced non attachment in my practice, right? Prior to being hospitalized, and this is true, right? Some of you know this or not, I had a cesarean, so that was a major surgery. I also had colon cancer, so I had a surgery of my colon. So I've gone through this process before where I've been essentially very limited in my movement and then rebuilt myself up. And each time I've my practice prior to the surgery, prior to the hospitalization, I was doing the fancy poses because that was in my practice, right? I was doing wheel pose or that fancy bridge pose. I was doing the fancy Janushirshasana poses. I was doing the forearm and handstands. So when I had the surgery and the hospitalization, my body already had that imprint in my physiologic, in my neurophysiologic. I cannot not say that word. You guys get me, right? It was imprinted in me. So to get back there is a lot quicker than learning it new, right? Also, I actually, especially with my cesarean, where I had, and my colon surgery, just because, um, for example, wheel pose, where I do the bridge, I let that pose go because I wasn't sure after my cesarean where the incision was and my pliability of fascia and such. There's a common mistake that with wheel pose, if you know what I'm talking about, comment below. If you need me to demo, I will warm myself up briefly and demo this. But wheel pose is the one where you look like this. So just comment here that you know what I'm talking about so I can make sure that you're following along. There's a common misconception from yoga teachers and yoga practitioners that when we're doing these postures, um, that it's flexibility of the back. So I will show you. So with, for example, this is bridge pose in the yoga world, right? They think that they can't get to wheel the full on back bend because their back is lacking flexibility, right? So they're lacking the ability to push up here into bridge wheel pose, Urdhva Dhanurasana, because they feel like it's their back that's lacking the flexibility. However, it's not the back that's lacking the flexibility. A lot of the times it's the combination of the front being tight, so the abs, the hip flexors, the quads, the shoulders, and a shoulder strength, right? And if those areas all have their mobility and their strength, then you can push up into back pose, wheel pose, and your back is not going to get aggravated or hurt. And you're going to put yourself at less risk of injury. However, most people just get so focused on their low back that they miss these other areas. And then what happens, what I see a lot of the times, is people trying to push up into the wheel pose, and crazy things happened, right? Their elbows go very wide, their knees go very wide, and then they're on their head like this, trying to push up, and their neck is getting compressed, their shoulders are getting impinged, and their low back is getting compressed, right? So how does this all relate to the health markers? So let's take this bridge pose, for example. Let's say that that is your goal. You just want to do bridge pose. It's okay to have the goal of fancy yoga poses. However, you don't want to have the goal of fancy yoga postures at the cost of sacrificing your back, right? So, or your any area of your body, or putting yourself at risk for injury. So how can you create hope and fun in your practice, measure your health while keeping your body safe? Because ultimately that should be the end goal, hopefully. Um, so comment below if you can relate, let me know. So what is your goal? Let's say that it is the bridge pose. What's the purpose of practicing the bridge pose? Maybe it's just to have fun and have a hopeful goal. That's totally fine. But how are you going to measure that that you're on the way, right? Or if you have the goal of healing your low back pain, how are you going to measure that your low back is healed? So if you want specific markers to know how to measure that, head over to the podcast. I give a few different examples. If you're looking to practice the fancier poses, it all comes down to alignment and foundation. So for example, with this wheel pose, thanks, Chris. Totally appreciate you leaving that message. With the wheel pose, it comes down to knowing what muscles need to be stretched and what muscles need to be strong to get you into the pose. Now, if you have no body background, like if you're not a yoga teacher, if you're not a physical therapist, and you really have no idea, that's where it's super important that you work with someone, whether it be a teacher in a group setting, whether it be a one-on-one, because when you get to know your body a bit better, then you can really create your own practices from a place of detachment, right? Which is another yoga philosophy. So for me, for the past 2 months, I was practicing just to heal, right? So my practice was very therapeutic. I was lying on the ground, I was using the strap, I was focusing on meditation and visualization, I was focusing on pranayama, the breath work, and I was doing a very little physical practice. As my body got stronger, as I was able to move with more confidence, then I slowly started to layer in different postures. And then I slowly started working my way back up to doing our hour-long classes online. However, I never really expected to do that the video that's in the group, the Pinchamayurasana. I never expected to do that again. I had completely let it go, right? My identity, my life, me, the essence of me is not defined by fancy yoga postures. Even though like it's great to show it, they're fun to practice, it gives me joy, I can laugh and giggle when I fall over, right? There's a lot of benefits to them. However, at that time in my life, to push, this is where I see a lot of things go wrong, is yogis step onto the mat and they push and force to try to hit the end goal. So they think that doing wheel pose or one handstand is going to define success in their health, in their life. When really it's the journey, it's the process, it's what you're learning along the way, it's measuring where you're successful, just like the business, just like your business, what needs to be tweaked, what's working, what's not working, strengthening what is working, letting go of what's not, and redefining it. All this is the same in your yoga practice, in your health. We just don't often think of it this way. We just often get on the mat, we're in a class, and the teacher cues to go into wheel pose, and the person next to you is popping up into wheel pose, and you're like, well, I should be doing that too. I'm just going to push, my elbows go wide and my neck gets all crunched, right? Or handstand, right? We're in a class, and for some reason we just think that we have to, our bodies should be doing handstands, so then we force and our shoulders get impinged, right? Without setting up that foundation, without setting up the goal of safely getting yourself to these peak postures, right? So back to my health journey, and then I'll wrap this up for today. I had let go of the wheel pose, the Pinchamayurasana. In all my surgeries and this recent hospitalizations, I had told myself, like, especially when I had my cesarean, like, I'm getting the gift of being a mother, and my baby came out safely. I was safe because of the cesarean. And so, if I'm not able to practice wheel pose again, if I'm not able to practice certain fancy poses again, that's okay, because I have the gift of being a mom, right? So, when I started my practice again, I was coming from a very different place than forcing my body and expecting my body to get back to being able to do wheel pose, or back to being able to do Pinchamayurasana again. Because the second way is forcing and pushing. I'm expecting it, I'm attached to the outcome. And so that is when the body's at risk for injury. And that is when usually we sabotage ourselves from hitting our health goals, because our mindset, our thought process is very different. So the actions we take, or how we may practice, or what classes we may choose to do on a given day is very different. So here's your work for the week. I want you to think of a health goal, whether that be maybe able to sit for a longer period of time without any nagging low back soreness. Maybe it's able to turn your head with greater ease. Maybe it is a fancy yoga pose, right? I want you to set a goal for the week or the month, whatever resonates better with your time allowance. And I want you to think of why this goal is important to you. You know, what's it going to bring you? And then I want you to start to break down this goal into measurable success markers. So just like in your business, you have the KPIs, you have metrics that your business is on track, and you look at those, or you should look at those weekly. Okay. I want you to look and see what I do to check in personally is I have my journal for the morning, and sometimes I review it at night as well, just depending on how bedtime goes with my daughter. But each morning I'm kind of checking in. Am I on track? What can I shift in my thought processes? I'm reevaluating my baseline in my body for the morning, my goals for the day for the business. I'm writing it down. So try this, get your goal, get your purpose of why that goal is important to you, because that's going to help you keep on track when you plateau or have off days. And then write down markers for tracking your success. And then next week we're going to come back with a different topic. So if there is a topic that you would like to see, or a specific yoga pose that you would like broken down in terms of alignment, I can totally do that. This group is here for you. And right now we've had a lot of new members come in, and I want to support you in the best way. So let me know what you really want to see. Just comment below or leave a post in the group. And then I can really fine tune the videos so they're more applicable to you. So if there is a certain pose that you want broken down, like wheel pose, I can do that. Maybe even next week I can break down wheel pose a bit more. If there are certain aspects of the practice that you would like to see more of, let me know, because I will tell you, as I was healing from this recent hospitalization, seeing my body grow and evolve in a very positive way, like I pretty much was at rock bottom for my health, and I slowly had to build myself up day by day, week by week. But seeing the positive changes, like feeling my hip muscles get stronger again, feel my core turn on again, also gave me confidence in my business. It also gave me stamina in my business. So my energy was improving a lot more. So I was able to do more during the day. I was able to be more focused in my business during the day because I had confidence that I was healing, that I was on the right track. So our health very much can affect our business for better or worse. So I'm going camping later today, so I will probably be offline for the next few days, but make sure you message me, comment me, let me know what you want to see more of, your thoughts on today, and I'll be back next week. Bye for now.